Hey everyone, thanks for coming back again and hanging out with me. First of all, I want to say Happy New Year. This has been a long time in the making. 2023 was a year that I started the channel. I got things moving. I was super happy, gained a lot of traction. And then, unfortunate circumstances happened. So, paused and now I'm back. I'm happier than ever to be doing this again. New space. Still working on it. It's not finished yet. And today we're going to be talking about and discussing, to kick off 2024, my Severin Black Friday haul. These aren't full-blown reviews. These are just kind of show-offs and thoughts on these. So let's dive into that real quick. So if you follow me over on Instagram, you know that Severin has become probably my favorite label to collect. They released my number one release last year, which was the Black Emmanuel box set. It's actually right back there. That was in my opinion, the best, not only box set of the year, but best release of the year, period. I just think, look, I love a ton of labels. I collect a bunch of them. I think they all do great work. If they weren't, I wouldn't be collecting them. We wouldn't be collecting them. Wouldn't be investing into them like we do. But Severin just... they just hit something for me, something that I love, and I love the work and the effort that goes in. I think the restorations are phenomenal. They do a great job with bonus features. They just all around love the packaging, the presentation, and also too, as I grow as somebody exploring different genres and different things, they're kind of hitting exactly the genres that I'm trying to get into and exactly the things that I'm personally trying to invest more time into and become more knowledge in. So when they announced their lineup for the Black Friday haul, jumped on it instantly. Of course, it took forever to ship. Actually, as of recording and posting this, there's still a ton of people posting in Facebook groups. They haven't received their order. The order hasn't even shipped yet. So, it takes time, especially with the holidays and everything, to get this stuff out. But I was very lucky to get mine very quickly. And really what I want to do with these videos are not reviews. I don't want to full-blown review these. More so, I want to show this stuff off, show off the appreciation for the packaging, for the appearance, for what we're getting, and also just kind of give my thoughts on them. I did watch all three of these pickups over the last couple of days. Look, they're all phenomenal. Take my thoughts for each one, copy and paste it onto the other. I think Severin, just when it comes to 4K restorations, them and Vinegar Syndrome, I think, are doing some of the best. And then again, presentation is everything. So first up, I picked up 3 titles from the haul. I picked up actually all 3 Mikel Suavi films that they released. And the first one of those that I checked out was The Sect. And I'm trying my best to not get any reflection here, but these slips are incredible. They're really, really, really glossy. They're really nice. They all match with one another. Like at the end of the video, I'll put them all next to each other. And they all look phenomenal. So this is the front of the slip for The Sect. Love the coloring. Love the detail. The gold down here. This is the back of the slip. I'm trying not to get a reflection in there. And these things are thick too. These are not cheap slips. These are very, very thick. You pop that open and obviously you have your interior artwork, which that's the artwork I knew of with the film. Then you have the back. This thing is loaded with interviews, like I think 3 hours plus of interviews in this thing. And then you crack this open. You have your 4K disc here. You have Blu-ray, and then you actually have the original motion picture soundtrack by Pino Donaggio in here as well. And then in here as well. One thing I will say, you're going to hear me talk about a lot this year, is please read your booklets. If you're paying for these releases, read your booklets. The amount of work that goes into these things, and the experience that goes along with watching these movies and reading these booklets is so important. This one here, this book in here, this one's, let's see, 35 pages of written material in here. And this is Mikel Suavi in the Shadow of the Golem by Claire Donner. Check out this booklet, this front cover here. And if I remember correctly, Claire Donner is online branch director for the Miskatonic Institute of Horror Studies, programming academic lectures on genre-related subjects for an international audience. This is a fantastic write-up on just the movie as a whole. This was actually my first time watching The Sect, and not my first experience with Mikhail Suavi, but my first time actually diving into this one. And his films are like layer upon layer upon layer of themes. They're extremely thematic. There's a lot of things that you see that can't really be explained accurately. It's just imagery. It's a ton going on in actually all of his movies, even going back to his first with Stage Fright. There's a lot of themes, and unless you have a true understanding of the source material and what's going on, that's why these booklets are so great, because it really kind of opened up my eyes to where this came from and how the film became what it is, and why the movie was so tough to follow. I don't think all movies have to make sense. I think that creators do things because they understand the material. Doesn't mean that I have to get the full effect out of the film. But the booklet really helped me understand a lot about the sect. Really helped me understand kind of the original draft of I think it's the Golem, and it was kind of like an unadaptable book because of the complexity, and that's what the sect originally was. And then Mikhail Suavi kind of figured out a way to make it adaptable, but also tell his own thing. And the film is incredible. The 4K scan looks absolutely astonishing. I think of the three, this is my second favorite of these three releases. This is my second favorite film. The interviews are fantastic. Like I said, the booklet is incredible. Great presentation here. Awesome movie. So that's The Sect. So up next in this Mikhail Suavi Severin Black Friday haul is The Church, and this was probably one of the bigger titles announced as part of that Severin Black Friday haul. And again, I mean, look at this slip. Let me show you this kind of close up here. Beautiful. Again with the gold foil. The colors, here it is side by side with The Sect. I hope that's focusing. And The Church is a movie that I actually had on Blu-ray. I forget who put out the original. There's the back artwork. Absolutely love this artwork on the back here, that image. This was put out on Blu-ray. I forget who had it out. I actually had it, but I don't know where I put it. So this was an upgrade for me. I originally... My attachment with The Church is not broad at all, basically. When I started really diving into Italian horror, I found Demons and Demons 2, and then it was like, oh, there's a Demons 3, and it's called The Church, and it's still made by an Italian filmmaker, and it's still very similar. And turns out this was actually a Demons 3 script that was kind of abandoned, and then it turned into this. And this is the artwork that's most notorious with the film right there. And then you have the back with all the details in there. And again, this is another packed release. So you have a 4K in here. You have a Blu-ray, as well as the soundtrack as well. And the soundtrack to The Church rocks. If you've never seen this film, be ready for absolute banger of a soundtrack in here. And then we have another write-up by Claire Donner in here. We'll say these booklets are a little hard to get out. They're thick boys. So, and this one here is A Vision of the Future, A Rocket from the Crypt, as written by Claire Donner. This feels a little thicker than, let's see, this is, mine's probably about the same. Yeah, 34 pages, but again, another excellent write-up. Again, theme upon the theme. It's very thematic. There are layers and layers to Mikhail Suavi's films, but I think The Church, out of The Church and The Sect, out of the two, is the most visually thematic. Obviously, you have the titular church that's in it. The church is beautiful. I'm not religious whatsoever, but I do admire the archaeology and the design of churches. And the church in this film is beautiful to look at. man, the production design is crazy. There are these cloaked statues sitting in the church pews that making everything feel very uneasy, and even in scenes where there's really nothing going on, somebody simply, walking down the center aisle of the church, it's very creepy. And then toward the end, when things really get kicking off, it goes down into the downstairs, and it's sort of like these, I don't know, like catacombs, but underneath of the church. All the production design is fantastic. It's very dreamlike. There's a lot of moments where we don't know if it's real. We don't know if we're seeing something from this perspective or that perspective. You don't really know. It's a lot of like, what is happening in this movie? But the end experience, I think, my big come away was when we finished watching the movie. I was like, yeah, I like it a lot. Like, obviously, I really admire this movie and I really like this movie, but it was kind of the next morning as I thought about it more. My thoughts on it increased, and I kind of really, really, really appreciated what it went for. It definitely, in my opinion, feels like a script for one thing, and then it became another. You even have the transformation from a scratch, which is from Demons. So there's some carryover in there, but I think religious material is very scary in itself, and I don't think it takes a lot of effort to make it even scarier. So add in there this incredible score, add in Mikel Suave's incredible eye, add in some of the effects. Like, there are some makeup effects in here that are wicked. There's a scene where somebody is a demon that's crazy. There's some just really awesome stuff here. I just think of the 3 releases, this is the one that I felt less attached to. This is the one that I was like, yeah, that's good. Whereas the other 2, I was like, man, these are classics, like absolute classics. So I think The Church definitely requires another visit from me soon. But you can't deny, Severin just blew this release out of the water, though. And last but not least, this release, when Severin dropped this bomb leading up to Black Friday, it was like pandemonium in the physical media space for exploitation collectors, and that is Della Morte Dell'Amore, aka Cemetery Man, in 4K. This is a movie that hasn't even had a Blu-ray, at least in the US. This was an old DVD release that was still hard to find. And this is not the standard, so these are, they're thick, but this is more of the box style release. Here is your front art there, which is incredible. Love the foil again. This is the back in the snow globe, and then this is a thick release. So this release here comes this style, if it'll focus, and when you slide this open, you have a couple things falling out of here. You have your standard, so this is the Cemetery Man art right there. Beautiful, love the colors. That is the back right there, and I don't know if this has a reversible. Let's see. It doesn't. I thought maybe it would have the original poster art on there, but it doesn't. And you pop this open, and this thing has, so you have your 4K, 4 discs in here. You have a Blu-ray of feature and extras. You have an additional Blu-ray of additional extras, and then in the back here you have your soundtrack CD as well. And this release too came with its own standalone book, and this one is significantly, so this is 50 pages, as well as all of them too have the soundtrack listings in here as well, so that's where you're going to find those. But this book is absolutely insane. Again, Claire Donner with the excellent write-up here. This movie, so when I was young, I remember seeing the poster art for this everywhere, right? And I remember the image of Rupert Everett on the cover with the shovel. And I remember I saw this once. I want to say it was probably, I don't know, I'm 32, so probably had to be like 20 years ago, probably closer, probably more than that. Probably 15, 20 years ago or so. And this was one that I remember these very brief moments where it was like images in my head that I just remembered. Not enough to remember plot or characters or anything like that. Just these brief moments that I remembered. So revisiting this was incredible. I mean, obviously, it's at that long, it's a first time watch. But this was my favorite of the three Suavi films that came out of this. This is a movie that just feels so different from The Church and the Sect and even Stage Fright, but at the same time so familiar. There's this very gothic style to it. The cemetery itself is incredible. Again, visually, there's a moment with him and the girl kissing in front of the moon, and it's this big giant shot of the moon, their silhouettes in front of it. There's a lot of this really cool imagery. There's a great moment actually right here on the slipcover, right up here, where you kind of see this physical version of the Reaper of Death, and it's really cool. You can tell it's just a puppet, the jaws as it's talking. Just a ton of fun to have with this movie. It makes no sense. The characters are insane, and by the end of it, I don't know. If somebody can try to explain to me what the ending of this movie is or what happened half of the time, I'll sit down and I'll listen to you for hours because I would love to understand it. But yeah, the characters are nuts. Basically, every 7 days, the corpses rise from the graveyard, and it's up to the engineer and his assistant to put them down because they're zombies, as this happens in real life. And it's funny. It's weird. I don't really know. It blurs the line of what's real, what's not, what's in their head, and characters are so passive. Like they're just like. There's a scene where the mayor arrives and he finds his dead daughter's head in the television, and she's talking to him. She shoots out of the television, bites him on the neck. The engineer shoots him in the head, and then the detective walks in and just goes like, "Who shot him?" And the characters are like, "Neither of us, and we didn't bite him in the neck." And that's it. Yep. They're like, "Okay, cool." And the movie just moves on past that. So it's. I'm sorry, he doesn't shoot him. He shoots the daughter in the head, and the mayor dies from the neck bite. But yeah, it's very. I'm an Evil Dead 2 fan over the first Evil Dead as much as I love the first one. I love Evil Dead 2 because of that zaniness, and it's all present here in Cemetery Man. It's just as violent, just as insane. It's not as slapstick, but it's very, very similar in tone and very similar in the comedic style. But again, the 4K looks ridiculous. I remember reading it was actually in the Severin Films podcast. They talked about how there are shots in this movie in detail in the cemetery because the production designer did such an incredible job with detail in the background and little things that are hidden. And this is the first time ever that stuff is visible, that stuff can be seen in the movie. So it's a beautiful, beautiful presentation. If you didn't get a chance to pick up this Thickaboy version, I'm sure there's going to be a standard one coming out. But yeah, that is Della Morte, Delamore, aka Cemetery Man. So again, all three of these are incredible. Like these are, I don't know. I already did my best releases of 2023. I'm going to count these as 2024 just because that's when they showed up. That's when they arrived. That's when I think majority of people are going to have them in a collection and watch them. It's going to be a 2024 counting. But I'm really, really, really excited to see what Severin does this year and what else they're going to bring to the table. And of course, I love my Vinegar Syndrome. I love my other exploitation labels, but I think Severin, as I said in the beginning, is just doing incredible work. Fantastic restorations, great bonus features, great presentation. I mean, look at the three of these stacked up here. Like, just incredible. And the fact that they put out 3 Mikel Suavi releases in one drop is awesome, and it's so appreciative, and I'm happy to have these. And outside of this, I mean, you have a 4K release of Spider Labyrinth, who has Ryan from The Disconnected on it, as well as Will. They put out a stacked, absolutely stacked Black Friday release that I only picked up these 3 to start, but I need to go back and kind of grab some of the other releases. It was just like a little overwhelming at the time, honestly, to pick up everything. But do me a favor, let me know down below what you picked up from the Severin 4K sale, if you picked up any of these. If you did get them in already, if you're one of the lucky few who did get these long before the end of January when most people were probably going to be receiving these. Let me know which one was your favorite. I can't wait to do a ton more Severin coverage this year as I continue to dive into some of the absolutely wicked stuff that they release. So, yeah, thanks for hanging out. I'll catch y'all later.